5 guiding principles. Number 1 is that Jesus Christ is worthy of our best efforts. And as we devote ourselves to Him and to carrying out the mission which He has given us, was about 100 more than we have today. Our congregational membership is down from 2012, which meant maybe kind of a high water mark. Our average weekly attendance is way down, but we understand why that is. We're still feeling the effects, as are many congregations, of recovering from COVID. And I would have to say that the number there of in-person attendees certainly doesn't represent the number of people who we're reaching with the gospel or who we are reaching with our services. We still have a very high number of people who are choosing to worship online. We are certainly encouraging our people to return to in-person worship if at all possible, because that's important. The fellowship which we enjoy, the encouragement which we give to each other by being present is certainly important. And finally, you take a look at the school enrollment, a little bit down from where we were 10 years ago, but up in our early learning center. And as was mentioned in the post-service announcements, the early learning center is going to play a prominent role in what, again, we hope God will allow us to do through our capital campaign. There you just have different presentation of what we just looked at, the membership and weekly attendance. And there you have a graph of school enrollment. And at this point, we're going to be looking at the different, or turning it over to the different board chairmen to give a brief review of the 3 things that were accomplished by that board in the past year and 3 things which are goals for the coming year. But before I do that, before I hand over the microphone, one thing that isn't on here, and I want to make sure that we are very much aware of, is our continuing Chinese ministry. We've been doing Chinese ministry here since the year 2005 when Pastor Yu came. It has taken various forms, but over those years, we have had the opportunity to instruct dozens and dozens of Chinese students with in the gospel message, and that has a great blessing. We also, although at one time there was a vibrant Chinese congregation because of financial situations, the financial situation in our country in the late 2007, 2008, and so forth, the opportunities for our in-person worship and then with COVID have shrunk, but Pastor Yu is probably reaching more people with the gospel than any of our in-service opportunities, because now he has an online congregation and there are hundreds of people who he is reaching with the gospel that way. So just wanted to mention that as we also talk about our ministry, we're also doing world mission work through the efforts of Pastor Yu. I believe at this time we move on to the different board chairmen. So I'm going to ask Larry to come up here and talk about the Board of Finance.
Good morning. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Larry Totsky. I'm the chairman of the Board of Finance. I'm also acting treasurer. We have that role is still unfulfilled, and if anybody is interested, step right up. These are the other individuals who are on the Board of Finance with me. Nate Bruction, who is a member at large. Mike Gleason, who serves as vice president of the congregation. Jody Schmidt from the Board of Stewardship. And Brent Sigmund is another at-large member. I'm intending to spend most of my time on the financial report today and give you a brief update at a 30,000-foot level of the finances of the congregation. Our fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th, and every year we adopt a balanced budget. At least every year that I'm going to be in charge, we're always going to have a balanced budget. This year our budget is $2.4 million for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. And our revenue comes from 4 primary sources: general member giving, school tuition, early learning center tuition and fees, and our transfers. And transfers, if you know anything about what I've preached on for every year that I've been treasurer, is we are currently using money that is basically in our savings account to fund operations. Transfers are money that we've brought in and have in memorials, the youth liaison fund, the endowment fund, that we have to pull in to balance our budget on an operating basis. So that's the 4 primary sources of revenues. Member contributions. Our budget for this year is approximately $1.2 million in contributions from our members. If you look at that right now through December 31st, we're approximately $588,000. And comparing that to last year, we're about $2,000 behind where we were at last year. But right now we're about $15,000 behind where we should be for our budgeting purposes. We budget based on our past giving trends and things like that. And so our budget this year is a little bit more. We need to have a little bit more this year to meet our budget. And so right now where we're at is about $15,000 behind budget on our general fund giving. School tuition. We have a budget of $537,000 for school tuition this year. That includes $46,000 for international students, which compared to last year, we had $15,000 for international students. And even though we budgeted $46,000, we're going to have significantly more. We have additional students who joined us in January for the second semester that we had not planned for in our budget. So we will have more revenue on international students than we had anticipated. We are planning to exceed our budget for tuition this year because of those international students primarily. Our Early Learning Center, our current budget is $440,000, and that's a huge increase from our prior year budget. We added another classroom this year for K2, and so we jumped up from $329,000 budget to a $440,000 budget. And that's not just that one additional class. We've got a huge demand for our Early Learning Center, and so we've got all of the spaces are full currently, and we've got a waiting list for our Early Learning Center. So that is doing tremendous right now. And we're currently ahead of our budget by about $27,000 this year. Transfers, again, we do it because we have to, not because we want to. Transfers, we budgeted $224,000 this year as compared to $279,000 last year. The place where the transfers are budgeted to come from is Eaton's funds. That's emergency governmental money that we spent last year. We got requests put in for reimbursement. We budgeted for about $6,000 this year. U fund, $22,000, endowment fund, $30,000. And then memorials is always the big one. It's any undesignated memorials that are available and we need to balance the budget, we've included in our transfers. So if you look at the different sources of revenue, approximately, this is on a budgeted basis, approximately 49% of it comes from our member tuition or member contributions. School tuition is about 23%. ELC tuition is 19%, and that transfer number is, again, 9%. Our goal is to shrink that transfer number. If we can change the other three components, increase giving, increase tuition, increase ELC, those are all ways we can shrink the amount of money that we're pulling out of our savings accounts to fund our operations. So just to give you another big picture look, on the expense side of things, overall our expenses this year are about $108,000 under budget. That's not because we're great at containing our expenditures. Majority of that, $81,000, is because we had pastoral vacancy for half of the year. We have another vacancy in over at school that hasn't been filled yet. So we've got a significant savings there. Our properties expenses are under budget due to the milder winter than we anticipated. And then just the timing of things. Sometimes you expect things to be expended in a certain time frame and they actually don't hit until later. So we've got other savings, about $14,000 under budget on school expenses, and board expenses are about $7,300 under budget. That's not to say we won't spend that money. It's just we're in a good position right now because they haven't been spent yet. So for the 6 months ended December 31st, halfway through the budget, we've got operating income of $1.1 million, operating expenses of $1.1 million essentially. So our revenues are over expenses. We're in a good position right now by about $72,000. That's ending December of 2022, which is... Right, but the slide said 2002. Oh. So we're approximately $21,000 better than we budgeted for at this point. If our contributions remain strong, and if we don't have any expense surprises, we hopefully will not need to transfer any money from our transfer accounts to balance our budget this year. That's a lot of things that have to come together. we're praying that they will all continue to work in that order. All right. Thank you.
I guess I'm next. I'm the president, for better or for worse, for the next couple of years. The vice president is Mike Gleason. Is he here today? Can you wave? Hi, Mike. Our secretary for the church is Michael Scosier. He is also in the back there. And our treasurer is Larry Totsky at the moment. We serve on the executive committee with the pastoral and principal staff, the headmaster and the pastors, trying to keep us all in the straight and narrow and keep the church moving forward. And then we also serve on the church council with all of the board chairmen that you're going to meet today to conduct the business of the church. Blessings from last year, we authorized the feasibility study to see whether or not we have support throughout the congregation to enter the capital campaign, which you'll hear about today. We work with the Long Range Planning Committee to work on the plans and fine-tune the building project. And, well, we sent Pastor Bitter off. He's a bit of a quitter, but that's all right. He's doing well at the school, I'm sure. And then we manage the process of calling and receiving the blessing of our new pastor. What are we going to do this year? We're going to continue the calling process, which you heard about in church. We're calling again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll find some new teachers. The Board of Elders and the Executive Board will fine-tune the calling process and the positions for the new pastor that we're missing right now. We're going to be missing in June 30th. Our esteemed lead pastor will be retiring, earning a well-needed break, and oversee the capital campaign and make sure that stays moving forward, and it's going to go pretty quickly once we get started. And hopefully that'll all work out pretty well. We'll see where we end up. The Board of Elders is led by Brian Treichel.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Brian Treichel, and I have the privilege of serving St. John's as chairman of the Board of Elders, along with Mr. A., who's our representative at Wisconsin Lutheran High School and Wisconsin Lutheran College. John Peterman is our visiting elder. John Schoppekamp is worship and services. Mike Schneider is our at-large member and works with our ushering teams. And then Jeff Zitz is special ministries. Some of the things that we accomplished in 2022 is we reached out to members, encouraging them to return to in-person worship. We revamped the usher and greeter program into one program, so that'll be new in 2023. We'll be asking families to both do ushering and greeting people. And then we restarted and revamped the Called Worker Care Committee. Our plans for 2023, like Pete just said, in conjunction with the exec board, we're going to evaluate the pastoral ministry at St. John's in light of Pastor Schwartz's onboarding and Pastor Lyer's June retirement. So in our June just use that temporarily. Am I on? There we go. All right, and then we will continue our efforts to encourage members to attend in-person worship so they can receive the many blessings that come from fellowship with other believers. And then we're going to fully implement the plans that we made in 2022 regarding the Called Worker Care Committee and the Usher and Greeter programs. And then, of course, with the Board of Elders, one of our main priorities is to continue the ongoing work of reaching out to members who need spiritual support and encouragement.
Craig Beyer is the chairman of the Board of Ed. And here he comes.
All right, good morning. My name is Greg Beyer, as you said, Chairman of the Board of Ed, along with Nick Cutting, Luke Sankey, who were both on last year, and then replacing Troy Schultz and Casey Holtz are Pat Stoltzman and Jason Weinrich. 2022, the blessings that we were able to accomplish, able to cover the responsibilities for Mrs. Pastoric and Mr. Lair, who accepted their calls to different area high schools. Also expanded 2 K2 classrooms for this coming year, and then next year we have plans to expand to 2 K3 classrooms. And then late last year, we also approved to be involved with Wisconsin and Milwaukee parental choice for school choice. For 2023, we're going to be implementing those with mainly current families that we have within the congregation. So it's a great blessing for them to be able to not have to pay that part of tuition. And then we're going to be looking to fill our staffing needs with Mrs. Runflish's departure, Mrs. Henning, and Ms. Wendland. And then finally, we're going to be organizing our policies into our Board of Education handbook. Looks like Mr. Margaret has something to say.
A lot of this has been said, but not everybody has said it yet, so I'll take up my opportunity. Our parental choice program begins this Wednesday, February 1st. The Milwaukee program goes from February 1st to February 20th. So all of our current families at St. John's who qualify will be encouraged to apply for that online starting on Wednesday. We have set aside 1 seat per classroom. We have the option of expanding that if we have more than 1 student apply for each classroom. The Wisconsin choice, which is if you live outside of the city of Milwaukee, goes until April 20th. And after April 20th, again, this time the state will hold a drawing to award seats. Again, we have 1 seat per classroom or per grade for Wisconsin choice. We talked a little bit about some of the changes that are going to be happening, the classroom expansion for this coming school year. We are especially looking for aides for our ELC. In my presentation, I guess 2 things I would like to ask. Well, first of all, big thank you for your support. But if you're looking for a way to continue to support, we have 2 needs at school. One is we really are in need of aides for our ELC. So if you or someone you know is looking for maybe part-time, maybe more than part-time job at our ELC, you saw the wonderful program we have this morning. If you'd like to be part of that, talk to Ms. Wendland, because we'll probably have 3 classroom aide positions open next year, and they're hard to fill. So if you know of somebody, or if you know recently retired and you want to get back into a little bit of time at St. John's, be an excellent way to do that. The other way is hosting international students. We probably could have several more international students, but we just don't have the places for them to stay. So if you say, hey, we got an extra bedroom and we can provide transportation to St. John's and pick them up after school, there is reimbursement for housing expenses, but talk to Mr. Creasy in the back if you, again, or somebody you know from St. John's or outside of our congregation, other sister wells, would like to host a Chinese or other international student next school year. And then the call news has already been repeated several times, so I don't have to mention anything about that, but thank you.
I'm John Warnke. I'm chairman of the board of discipleship. Along with me is Steve Wolf. He is Sunday school superintendent. I believe he's over at the school right now. And we also have Dave Wolf, member at large. Excuse me, I knew a Dave Wolf in a previous profession. Dave Toter. I do not see Dave here. And we have 3 vacant positions on the board. So looking in the rear view at 2022, we saw increased participation in our growth groups. So what are growth groups? I'll give a brief description. So growth groups are lay-led small group Bible studies. We have members at the congregation here. They assist with writing the study guides. They open up their homes to host for the Bible studies, and we also have members that lead the Bible studies. So it's really a kind of a member constructed Bible study. You know, I highly recommend these growth groups, given that they're lay led, the small size format, and the informal setting. It really fosters fellowship and thoughtful, deep meditation around God's word with other Christians and members of your church. So I highly recommend it. Lutheran Pioneers, we kind of had a soft restart to Lutheran Pioneers prior to 2022. There was some activity on the girls' side, but 2022, we saw increased participation with boys, and we started joining girls and boys events together. And also, we did hold a fellowship golf outing in August of last year. It was lightly attended, but it was a lot of fun. So looking forward to this year, we have a new devotional book for By Scripture Alone. It's called To Live with Christ. It's written by Bo Gertz. He's from Sweden. He was a bishop in the Lutheran Church, and so the book had to be translated. And kind of the convenient thing about the devotional book is, so there's a daily reading, and the daily readings connect with the church year calendar. So you can find this book. It's available. You can find it on Concordia Publishing, and you can also find it on the Amazon Kindle app. So if you're out and about, it's very convenient. Also, we're planning to hold another fellowship outing or two this year. And we're going to have another round of growth groups starting shortly after Easter. So be on the lookout for that.
I'm Adam Gady, chairman of the Board of Outreach. First, I'll say, as someone who somewhat reluctantly joined a growth group when I was a new member here, and then never has quit since then. It's the very best way to get to know your members socially and spiritually. So I highly recommend that. But in addition to me on the Board of Outreach, we have Matt Hobler continuing on, and new guys Dominic Betcher, Kevin Festerling, and Jonathan Cox, who's here if you want to wave. In 2022, in addition to our ongoing events that we do each year, because we're very blessed as a church to have events both in the community and school where we can easily, if we kind of get involved with that, connect with our community. The big things that the Board of Outreach does for our ongoing events include handing out bags, cloth bags, and drinks at the farmers market. And we also do a Tosa Fest chili and cupcake contest, and then sell the proceeds through our youth ministry. And then we do the holiday train with hot chocolate and Christmas cards handing out. But in addition to the ongoing, we had the outreach perspective for the parental choice decision, just looking at things like how would this affect enrollment and better connecting with families. We also, big thanks to Christy Meyer, who helped to set up a sermon podcast that just gives us further reach outside of our congregation with the great sermons that our pastors are already doing for us. And then finally, we did a special Christmas campaign with both digital and print advertising that ended up reaching 14,000 people, and then of that, 322 came to our Christmas landing page, and of that, about 22 watched a Christmas video that Pastor Schrader had prepared, and 2 people even gave their name and email address in order to download another document about Christmas. So that went well. And looking ahead to 2023, it's kind of general goals, but the church's strategic plan is asking the Board of Outreach to foster a mission mindset in the congregation and equip members for outreach, particularly personal outreach, looking at the people who are already in your life and just better connecting with those people and being able to then share the hope that we have. And finally, just no matter where people are at, whether they haven't connected with our church and our Savior yet, or they're a new member, or they're a mature, like, veteran member, we want to nurture people each step of the way to just become better connected, better assimilated, and spiritually growing. So those are our upcoming goals.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dan Schmall. I serve a dual role of properties coordinator and IT support here at St. John's. In the IT end, some of you may be aware the last couple of weekends we've had trouble with our broadcasts, and it's a complicated issue. We think we have it mostly fixed today, and hopefully that'll be the case. We had network consultants in this week. It's just some complicated issues. We have about 250 computing devices on our network, and bandwidth becomes an issue, and all the connectivity between our servers across the street through fiber optics and all kinds of stuff like that. But at any rate, we think we have it fixed. This broadcast is live now, and I've been kind of watching it back there, and also our service this morning was good, so we're very happy that's all online. As far as the properties coordinator aspect, this past year, obviously with the planning committee, we've done a lot of work on the expansion plans. We've done some work there. John Johnson, the co-chair of that, is going to give a report in a little bit. Fortunately, and by God's blessing, we did not have any major failures this year of mechanicals, and we've got a lot of mechanical equipment here with all the HVA, heat ventilating air conditioning units at school, at church here. There's just a lot of things, but everything's been working well, so we're very happy to have that this past year. And we completed a lot of repairs, maintenance projects, and upgrades. I'm in charge of everything from making sure the toilets work to making sure the elevators run, and making sure we have heat on, and that the snow gets plowed, and all kinds of subcontracts that we run for the church and school and our facilities. And all of that is kind of included in that catch-all at the bottom. For this next year, our big plan is to implement, God willing, our plans for building expansion and parking improvements. Again, we want to address any deferred maintenance projects, and we have a lot of them that we've kind of been holding off. We want to roll them into this overall big expansion project. There are also things that don't always get enumerated, but there are some deferred maintenance things from the past 10 years or more that will also become part of that major project. And obviously also to continue to maintain our church and school properties in whatever way is needed. Okay?
Morning. I am Christy Meyer, part-time communications coordinator over here, and anything that deals with news from the congregation kind of sort of flows through me. So print, social media, the St. John Spotlight this morning, that is all communication and my world. Couple of things from 2022. Coordinated and oversaw teen communication, so especially with the implementation of monthly teen events, and then with Pastor Bitter's departure, kind of brought teen communication under one umbrella and did some coordinating there. Redesigned the service folders and the news and notes, so it's been a year, you may not remember, but they're so much easier to read now, and we are very thankful for a new copier that allows us to have clearly printed service folders and news and notes. And in this last one, I've discovered I am old because I don't understand Instagram. But we are getting there. So we have an Instagram account, and I think we have a couple more followers than when I pulled that a couple weeks ago. So check us out on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, we are on Instagram as well as being on Facebook. Plans for 2023 in light of everything that is changing pastorally here at St. John's. It's a good time to look at my role as well because I work with all of the pastors. So just kind of look at roles, duties, and responsibilities of this part-time communications coordinator with all the changes coming. Redesign the church website. I think I've said this for the last 2 years, and I'm saying it again to keep myself kind of sort of accountable. Our website is old, the template is old, and it's time to redo it, and it's just a project that I haven't found time for at this point in time. So if I keep saying it, eventually it will get done one of these years. And then with the capital campaign that you heard a little bit about this morning, declaring his praises, so coordinate various communication aspects of that. We have Jeff Davis with Cornerstone Ministries as our consultant on the capital campaign, and then we're doing some of it in-house as well. So watch for lots more information on declaring his praises over the course of the next couple of months. Oh, failure. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Mark Nauman. I have the privilege of serving as chairman of the Board of Stewardship, along with these other three gentlemen, Lyle Hofferman, Phil Hansen, and Jody Schmidt. So we certainly thank them for their service. Couple of things that occurred last year that we are very blessed with. We provided encouragement and assistance to members to develop or review their estate plan. We have an agreement with a firm called SFC Estate Coaching, and it's a free service to members to go ahead and develop your estate plan, or if you have one in the past 5 years, maybe sit down with them and review it. Tremendous blessing for some of our members. Next, we did conduct, with the help of Mandy Degner, a statistical review of our giving patterns. We're hopeful that this will help us understand a little bit the ebbs and flows in the offerings that we receive. This year, again, we want to continue to encourage our members to use this service from SFC to develop their estate plan. A secondary goal of that would be to remember St. John's Endowment Fund as you consider your legacy gifts. So you'll be seeing more information about that, how to contact them. And we're going to explore, once again, offering financial management classes for our members. Some of you may realize that Larry Totsky and I facilitated Financial Peace University classes here for 6 years or so. Saw tremendous blessings. When you read some of the testimonials from people that had attended, how it changed their lives dramatically by getting them out of debt, managing the financial blessings that God sends their way. There have been some changes with the structure of those classes, so we're going to be examining that a little bit more and see if we might be able to offer that again for our members here. And then finally, provide some education and encouragement for members to use their God-given gifts of time and talents to support our ministry efforts. Stewardship is not just about money. It's about using every blessing that God gives us. So we'll be looking for some more education and encouragement for our members on that avenue. One of the other hats that I'm happy to wear during this is chairing the capital campaign. Declaring his praises is our theme. Pastor mentioned earlier, why we selected that. I think that's very appropriate. Our goal is to raise $2.5 million or more. We're confident through several feasibility studies that that's an attainable goal, and that will be our goal going forward. We have some leadership team volunteers. If any of you are here, could you please stand so we could acknowledge you? Thank you. Thank you. So these are people that are our core. This is our core leadership team. A campaign of this sort cannot exist with just these people doing a great job. We need many, many, many more. So if you are contacted in the near future asking to serve, please please volunteer to serve. The workshops, go ahead, thank you. There are some upcoming meeting dates. There are some workshops taking place at the end of February. There's also some small group presentations in March. Our ask is that every member attend one of these. You will be getting letters inviting you to attend with an RSVP. So through these sessions, we want every member to attend at least one so you can hear more information about what the campaign's about, what the expansion program is about. And you, like I said, be prepared, you'll be getting letters inviting you to one of these. The worship schedule, the campaign is over 6 weeks. It'll begin the end of February, and you'll see things like home devotions sent out, special prayer requests sent out, different insertions into the worship schedule. Christy is developing inserts for the bulletin through these next couple of weeks. So it all concludes on April 1st and 2nd. That weekend, it's also Palm Sunday, where we will be asking all members to submit their, we are calling it a promise sheet of what their contribution would look like. So what's your role in all this? First of all, pray. Pray that our Lord will bless this effort. Pray boldly, pray confidently that he will allow our members to respond in love so that we might be able to expand our ministry program. Stay informed. There's just a lot of information going to be coming your way, whether it's the campaign itself, the building program, and so forth. Take the time to educate yourself. Ask questions if you need to. Be involved. So as one of those core members on the leadership team contacts you, please say yes. This is not a overburdening process we're putting on you, but the more people we get involved, obviously, the less time per individual. And then start considering your financial support. Like I said, more information on this, on different ways of giving will be coming, but please start giving that some thought now. And John Johnson.
Good morning, friends. I am John Johnson, working on the building committee update. Just to paint in a little bit of context, you've probably seen my mug up here a few times over the past several years under the title of long range planning. Felt like the eternal committee. But I can say, to put it in the proper context, the work that we were doing prior would almost be a bookend here. We acted as long-range planning, and as you recall, we had a couple attempts at getting a building program off the ground. The Lord saw that maybe we were too premature with that. The work we had done prior, and again, I want to thank Dan Schmall. He and I are kind of collaborating as committee chairs. The information you're going to see here in the next set of slides is around the planning that we had done with MSI General with the last round here of planning. Of course, the pastors and principals and Rachel, and as well as Mark Nauman, Pete Hansen, Larry, and Christy. You're going to see parentheses behind many of these names. That's because they're pulling triple and quadruple duty in some cases, so I'd like to thank them for all their extra effort. So as the building committee update, the goal was we transitioned from long-range planning. In essence, in long-range planning, we set the scope of the potential expansion program for which the capital campaign is now, God willing, going to complete. So we transitioned from long-range planning into a building committee with that premise. So what you're going to see here is just some overall site plans. Again, this is work done with MSI General. They were our general contractors for the school. We re-engaged them to further hone in, and I think we pretty much hit a pretty nice sweet spot for the expansion, both on the church side as well as on the school side. You can see in the kind of the pinkish color there, or salmon color, you can see the proposed additions do not look too extravagant. You may have seen previous presentations over the years where we had some pretty Mongo expansion and some broad ideas, but we really seem to hone in on a nice expansion. Again, on the church side, we included some things around a canopy for drop-off for some of our older members, sidewalks and such, for those of you who've tried to navigate the parking lot today on a snowy Sunday, kind of working the courtyard into a patio area, and then adjusting parking lots for expansion. And in this rendering here, you also see the removal of the existing parsonage. On the church side, with regards to that, we really have two options in the works. One is to not remove the parsonage and work with the limited parking that we have, just using the lot that we had acquired. The second option we have, which again will be up to the voters eventually based on our funding program, is to fully remove the parsonage and leverage that. And as you can see, it provides a significant more parking opportunity. And so that is something that is still in the works and will be kind of fleshed out based on the campaign. So when it comes to the church and the proposed parking addition, you can see here, upper floor here, we're going to add about 1,900 square feet. And we're basically bumping out the current office area, scooting that all back and moving all the offices back. And the doors that you come in off the side parking lot will essentially become narthex. So you can see here we have additional conference rooms. We are wholly needing to adjust and update the restroom facilities for particularly accessibility. We're going to add some coffee in the area as well, if possible. Storage, as we know, we need more storage. And we have a lot of volunteers at work here, as you can see. So again, some ability for them to work in some areas around the reception as well. So on this side, we're working that. So from the lower level, again, we're just having some proposed space that would be underneath that, so essentially excavating out that area around the St. Mark's room. So we'll have a new, larger meeting room for similar small group Bible study and things like that, as well as other smaller meeting rooms and storage. So the rendering here, as you can see here, this is from a side view looking basically from the corner of the front lot of the parsonage. You can see here we're trying to make it accessible, trying to provide a nice traffic flow, as well as the ability to drop off our members here. And that door is the same door you're seeing here. On this side here, what I really like about this is you're seeing people on sidewalks. You're not going to have to navigate the slippery, slopey parking lot. So that was another thing that the MSI designers really were cognizant about for accessibility, was providing sidewalk space so you don't have to navigate around people crossing the street, or the parking lot. And in addition, we also decided to provide accessibility. If you think about where this is in relation to the lot that we had acquired, this would allow you access to park in the back of the church and essentially via the sidewalks make your way up into the narthex through kind of where the old gazebo area was, off to a small patio. And again, too, the idea would be here to provide a nice spring and summer days, the ability for people to congregate on the patio as it would go directly into the narthex. Before I go on to the school stuff, I just want to let you know that roughly the church expansion costs, just got some numbers in this week, so they're not in the slide deck. Roughly the entire project is about a $5.9 million project. And it's pretty much an even 50-50 split between the church expansion and the school expansion. So the illustrations you just saw here on the church side, it is again roughly about $2.9 million for that to be accomplished as well. On the school side, again, a rough split, roughly about a $2.9 million project. So again, here you can see basically a large motor activity room. If you saw from the St. John Spotlight, you saw that the Early Learning Center children were using the school gym. That school gym sees a lot of traffic throughout the day, so we wanted to have a special spot for the Early Learning Center to be dedicated to them and to those children to basically burn some energy. And if we can find a way to harness it and create some electricity, that'd be great too. So it's going to be roughly a 3,000 square foot large motor activity room, as well as some security with relation to the entrance into the vestibule for the Learning Center. On the middle the middle level, we're basically just adding classrooms. So we're going to have a K-5 classroom, another general classroom, as well as some outdoor storage. So again, just working the 3 levels up, we're going to be able to have to stack these. And so the large motor room, and then stacked on top of that would be an assortment of classrooms and storage. And then, of course, to top that all off, which should be the upper level, we have a need for a music room and for a science room. So again, part of that 2,900 square foot is going to give us a really nice music room for Mandy to do her magic, and even to probably even a greater extent. And science classroom, again, to maintain it with the times and keep up with the expansion of the school. Things like STEM programs could really do wonders if we had the space for it. So again, that is the plan for that, as well as some piano room for piano lessons and such. And of course, here's a rendering, looking at it from the side. What we're talking about here is where you see the cross. It's that bump out there to the left. And of course, this is from the parking lot side. We're essentially coming off of and expanding out from the gym. And of course, on the other side here, you can see that would be the expansion to the far corner, just past where those little cars are. So you can see here, it's not an onerous or over-expansive, quite scaled down to the point that we think it's going to be supporting and sustaining both the Early Learning Center as well as some additional activities for the next generation to come, hopefully. All right.
Thanks. Well, that's a lot of information. I have questions. Now, if anyone has any questions or comments, now would be your time, and the people that are here will try and answer them. Yes?
When will the normal communion practice be returning?
That's a good question. The Board of Elders and the Worship and Service Committee probably could answer that better than I. Well, the question would be, when would the old school communion practice return?
That's one of our priorities this spring, to take a look at that. We review that every month at our meetings. So,
Anything else? Yes.
The additional K-3 classrooms, is that dependent on the capital funds in the building campaign?
The additional K-3 classrooms, is that dependent on the construction? Dan?
No, we do have a space for that room right now.
We have space for that now. Excellent. Yes.
What is the Called Worker Care Committee, and what are some examples of what it does?
What is the called, I gotta learn the pause, yeah. I'm not good with pausing. What is the Called Worker Care Committee under the Board of Elders? It's exactly what you think. It's people that will be trying to connect with the called workers here at St. John's. If they're new, try to make them welcome, try and introduce them around to people in the congregation, as well as if they have concerns or questions, they will have someone they can talk to, someone they can refer to that's maybe not on staff or an employee, just someone who's a member of the congregation who can help them and be a support to them. Is that close, Brian? Anything else? If there's ever any questions, the thing you all need to realize is you can tab any of the guys you saw standing here or any of the names you saw on the list. I'll throw them under the bus. You can contact them anytime you want, and they will do their best to either answer your questions or find out an answer for you. Yes, Isaac?
When will the offering plates be returning?
When will the offering plates be returning? Probably the same time as the communion service. I don't know. Mike?
Question more for John. You didn't really talk much about the parking and what the intention would be for parking. Would the staff during the school still park in that same area, or would they park across the street and allow that to be more of a playground space?
I guess we didn't flesh out the logistics of working with the existing parking after that. All of this is conceptual planning to set the target for the capital campaign. Once we get the final project going, we'll establish what the parking is, and then if we do need to make space, we may have to leverage that parking down at the public lot. But also keep in mind, if we pull off the church side with all the expanded parking there, the staff could also shift over during the workday and park there as well. So we got a lot of, put it this way, the current plan gives us many more parking options once we get it fully fleshed out.
Yeah, I just think it would be very nice if that area that we're looking at there was devoted for playground area space. It would be an improvement for the kids.
Absolutely. The headmaster is giving me the high sign in the back. He'd like that to be playground too. Any other questions? If not, I will ask Pastor to send us home.
Just again to reiterate, thanks to everyone who has been involved in the beneath the surface work here at St. John's. As one of the roles and goals of this meeting is for everyone to know just how much is happening here at St. John's. So we covet and we solicit your prayers for God's continued blessings upon our plans and our procedures going into 2023. That being said, we will close with the blessing. Lord, bless us and keep us. Lord, make your face shine upon us and be gracious to us. Lord, look with favor upon us and give us peace. Amen. Thank you all for being here.